today we're going to talk. I don't know if we have enough time, but because I prepared a lot of materials, but we're going to talk about writing the perfect counteroffer. When I say writing, when I'm saying writing the perfect counteroffer, it's not only the counteroffer; it's the addendums and everything around that. Now, when I'm saying writing the perfect counteroffer, let's talk about what we have. We have car forms, they are the zip forms, that basically making our life very easy. The RPA, it's a plug and play. You don't have to go too much into thinking. It makes the agent life very simple. It's also the agent's worst enemy, and because of that, most agents do not think, and they don't think about how they want to see the transaction. They don't think about a little bit into the horizon, and they just look plug and play. And I don't want to say how many agents don't even read the fine letters in the RPA. But then we have counter offers and we have addendums, and these counter offer and addendums, usually this is the place when the agents put their spirit, put their knowledge, put their put essence into the transaction. And I want to stipulate this for a second, and I want to mention something. California is one of the few states that agents actually write contracts. In most of the American states, the agents do not write contract. Agents show properties and collect the checks. Whoever writes a contract is attorneys. And the reason is because the legislators in those states believe that transactions of hundreds of thousands and sometimes millions of dollars should not be conducted by agents. It should be conducted by attorneys. The legislator in California puts a lot of burden on the agents, and that's why we have to understand that when we're writing this, it's obligated the client, and most of the time your clients do not know what you write, do not understand what you write, and that's why it's so important that we write the perfect document. So let's move on. After I said what I said, let's move on, and thank you for all of you that joined us this beautiful morning. So I mentioned that last week. When are we using a counter offer, and when we're using an addendum to negotiate? Anybody can tell me, when are we using a counter offer? Okay, Tony is typing because Tony is the only one I will allow it. Okay, Wanda, very good. Before ESCO, and before ESCO, very good. So, and when we're using an addendum? After opening, very good, guys. Can we use a counter offer after we open ESCO? Yes or no? Think twice. Okay, very good, Joanna and Wanda. We cannot use counteroffer after opening an ESCO. We can use addendum to change terms in the contract, and the only time we actually starting negotiating in ESCO, in going back and forward like counteroffers, is what kind of a document? Anybody can tell me? Nobody. Request for repairs, guys. Request for repair. If you look at it, and we had a session about that, request for repair, it's coming back and forward. Request for repair, seller respond to request for repair, and so on and so on. That's kind of counter offer start bouncing back and forward with the in ESCO. Now, addendum Usually we use after escrow opens, but addendum usually we use also if we have a counter offer, which I'll get to that in a minute, which we have a counter offer that too many items and it doesn't fit that small area in the counter offer. Okay, now guys, very important. It's very, very important that we write the perfect counter offer. Okay, just before that, I forgot to do this. Have it before you. Counter offer before escrow open, addendum is in escrow. So it's very important that we write a nice counter offer. Remember, that piece of paper will dictate how the escrow look alike, will dictate how the closing will look alike, and will eventually, God forbid, will be a document that people, the parties, might end up in court, and maybe it's going to be something that you never know. A judge will look at it and says, "Okay, tell me what did you mean here? Why it's not clear and why it's not it's being disputed." So we have to make sure that we write the perfect one. Also, we have to make sure that when somebody on the other side write a mushy, messy counteroffer, in our counteroffer, we fix it. Because if you have a sloppy agent on the other side, that doesn't mean that you have to be dragged into his sloppinesses and errors, and that means that you have to go and make this thing perfect. So let's see, we have a seller counteroffer here, and I call it a nice seller counteroffer. Basically, the nice seller counteroffer, it's because there is a one, you see this 1, 2, 3, you see that? Okay, hold on. There is a 1, you see 1, 2, everything is nice. Also, item B, it says item B, nice, okay, not item B2, I'm sorry, item B2 is not saying what this, I can say, okay, nice. Over here, item 14B1 to B12 days, okay? So we have a nice seller counter offer, okay? Now, let's take a look on a much nicer seller counter offer, okay? Much nicer. But by the way, guys, every time that you have a question or something I show here, please write your comments, okay? So first of all, we have them in bullets, and this is how I want you guys to have your counter offer, you have your addendums, everything that you write. I want it to be bullets, and I want it to be one after another. I mean, if you really try to squeeze on space, you can write on the same line, let's say 1 and 2, escrow to be escrow up, 2 title to be XYZ company. So that's okay. This is not a serious material fact to the escrow. But other than that, I really want everything to be in line. The reason I want everything to be in bullet and numbers is because when somebody reference to this item, and I'll show it to you later on, it's easy. You say item 2 to the seller counter offer 1, item 3 to the buyer counter offer 1 to be so and so. Now, to be so and so, you have to remember that a contract, and when you put a counter offer or you put an addendum, that means that you can hear me, guys? You can, right? Something messed up with the wires here. When you write that, there is no, it has to be in order. You have to dictate. You cannot have question mark. Never, ever. I don't want to see the words shall, may, could, would, should, things like that. Cannot be in contract, period. It must be to be, okay? You're giving instructions, and the instructions are clear and cannot be interpreted by any party. And this is always remember what the judge will say about that. So and how the escrow company is interpreting that. Okay, so guys, no should, no would, because the moment you should, could, would, it means that somebody can fly away with your terms because they are not precise. Everybody got what I just said? Yes or no? Very nice. Okay, guys. So we said we have, you see, nice. We say home warranty, blah 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 blah. Let's talk about number 8. Okay, this is how I want you to write the perfect counter and the perfect addendum. Okay, uh, paragraph so and so to the RPA. Okay, so you reference on the RPA, not like before, it says paragraph 14A something. No, paragraph 7A1 to the RPA. So everybody knows, flipping the page, going, okay, to the RPA 7 and 1. Now, it could be that there's going to be 5, 6 counteroffer and so on. So you want to reference to this item. So if it's not 7A1 to the RPA, you write item 3 to seller counteroffer 1 to be void and null. Now, let's talk about the void and null. The void and null is very important. Many of you see that I use it a lot. When you don't like an item that it's written, you don't have, and you don't want it to be there, you want it to be stricken from the contract, you write to be void and null. That's it, period. No explanation. Another thing is that you have to remember, let's say you're doing a buyer counteroffer 1 on the seller counteroffer 1. If you don't like something, you write it, okay? Take it out. If you want to counter it, you say item 3 to seller counteroffer 1 to be so and so, and I'll get it to you in a minute. If you like something, you don't have to reference it. You don't have to write, guys, you don't have to write all other terms and conditions on seller counteroffer 1 are accepted. There is no need. If you don't reference, it's in the contract. Everybody got that. I've seen this a lot. Okay? There is no, if you're accepting, there is no need to reference it. Okay? Good. Excellent. Wow, I got a good class today. So let's talk about addendum in the counteroffer. As you can see, we have a seller's addendum, and the seller addendum, because the counteroffer was a lot of stuff in it, he put it in the addendum. So as you can see, the addendum is to seller counteroffer 1. It's not addendum to the purchase contract. No, it's not. It's addendum to seller counteroffer 1. So that's just because we're using a piece of paper that can have all the documents. Do we need to use an addendum? No, we don't need to use an addendum. We can use just a simple piece of paper and write everything that we do, and we say appendix to seller counteroffer 1. It's nice because everything is in the zip form, so we have everything registered and so on and so on. So that's why we use an addendum. So let's see what this guy wrote. And I like the way he wrote. As you can see, we have bullets, 1, 2, 3, so far, 5, and everything, okay? And everything it details nice, neat, and we can understand. There is no interpretation of what's written here. It's clear, okay? So now we got this, and we are the buyers, and we want to counter, okay? So remember, whatever we do not, wherever we agreed, we don't have to reference. It's agreed. So this is, for example, this is what we counter. Purchase price to be 440. I don't need to go because it's a purchase price. There is no need to go and reference item 2 to seller counteroffer 1 to be 440. I don't need that because it's a purchase price. This is probably the most important item. Okay. Also, if you don't escrow and title, you can say counter them. There's no need to go specific, even though you can. But the most important is item 2 over here. Take a look at item 2, the way I wrote that. So basically, look at that. Item 12, I'm referring to item 12, 13, and 14 to SEO 1. Okay, so item 12, 13, and 14, these two items. Buyer shall pay CD transfer tax. This is what the seller wants. Seller to pay up to $400 for upgrade on warranty, and seller pay for title insurance up to $1,000. Now, before I go into the terminology, anybody can tell me why I do not agree that the buyer will pay for the CD transfer tax? Okay, Joanna, who says it's seller's duty? So, okay, Joanna, everything on the contract is negotiable. As you can see, if you look at the RPA, you see there are two boxes to be checked. Who pays it, a seller or buyer? So you will have situations that, especially in a hot market and multiple offer situations, that the seller will say, you know what, Mr. Buyer, you're paying all the closing costs. I don't care. Give me a net and that's it. So that means that the buyer is paying all the transfer tax. By the way, I closed escrow 2 days ago on one of my properties, and buyer pays the transfer tax, everything, everything. So it's not. It's got nothing to do with the seller's duty. It's negotiable. However, I said that it says, Marcus, why you don't know how much? Of course you know. Okay, guys, how much is the city transfer tax in the city of Los Angeles? Give me right away. How much is the rate? No, Tony. Tony, don't write. No, Tony. Tony, stop. Not Tony. Guys, how much is the city transfer tax in the city of Los Angeles? Wanda, that's the property tax rate per year. No, Nilo, that's property tax rate per year. Okay, guys. Ooh, wow. Ooh, wow. I was talking about that in office meeting, in many places. Okay, guys. Let's talk about. Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about item 11. Okay, when he says county transfer tax, the county transfer tax across California, it's $1.1 per thousand. Okay, $1.1 per thousand. That's the county. That's why he says seller will pay $1.1 per thousand. Now, the city transfer tax, it's something different. Every city has their own. Most cities do not have. Okay, the city of Los Angeles do have. The city of San Francisco do have. So when they have big urbans that needs a lot of money for maintaining the city, they charging a city transfer tax. Write it down, guys. Okay, the transfer tax in the city of Los Angeles is 4.5 per thousand. Very good, D. 4.5 per thousand. Now, Marcus, tell me, do I know how much it's going to be on a $440,000? Yes, how much it's going to be, Marcus? Marcus? Oh, you probably don't have a calculator on you. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, it's 1,980. So 440? No. What's that? How come? How come? No, you do 440 times 5.6, 4.5. That's the city. Okay, so This is the transfer tax. So the city transfer tax is 540 times 4.5. The county is 440 times 1.1. So together, if you want to know, it's 5.6. But this is how you do it. Okay? Okay, we'll move on, guys, because we have to continue. So the seller is saying, oh, Mr. Buyer, you're going to pay the FT amount. I'm going to pay the small amount, and you're going to pay the FT amount. Okay, he can, but I'm representing the buyer and say, you know what, it's not going to work. Another thing is, why do you think I deleted number 13? Why you think so? Anybody can tell me? Number 13. Why I also deleted that? Won't cover. Very good, Tony. It won't cover. $400 for upgrade on warranty, it's not going to cover. You need at least 600. Okay, so we have a very stingy seller here. Why number 14? Very good, Diana. Won't be enough. Why number 14? Why I don't like number 14? Because the same thing, it's not going to be enough. Okay? And you don't want to limit it. Okay? There are certain things you don't want to limit. So you stricken it from the contract. So the way we write it, and I want you to look at number 2 over here. Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, how do I erase this? Yeah, okay. So the way it is, you just reference to that item. You reference to that item, and you're saying items 12, 13, and 14 to SCO1. SCO1. Remember, seller counteroffer 1 to be void and null. That's it. So as you can see, we have 14 items on this seller counteroffer 1, and from this 14 items, we reference only to 2. We did 2 counteroffer, but we reference basically to 4 items. Now, we're not doing anything with the others because we're accepting. Now, there is something here that I spoke about. Take a look at number 3. And I spoke about it in negotiation and so on and so. House is sold as is. Seller do not work except the work, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Why I'm accepting this? You see, I don't counter this. Why I am accepting this? Can somebody tell me? Because we spoke about this so many times. For those of you that have been on my sessions. When the seller tells me house is sold as is, what does it mean for me as a buyer? Okay. Doesn't matter. Jessica, why it doesn't matter? Paul, very good. Jessica and Paul, why it doesn't matter? Diana, very good. Why me as a buyer, when I see that the seller says to me, sold as is, I disregard it. Very good, Marcus. We can still request repairs, okay? And let's say you're asking repairs that about $1,000, of course, we don't think that the seller will blow up the deal. We can still negotiate. Very, very good, Jessica. Excellent, guys. Very good. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so let's move on because I have 5 minutes left and I'm not even close to finish. Okay, guys, very important. Now, I mentioned before that it's so important to write precise language on our contract. So important, guys, because there is something I say that we have to know when something starts and something ends. And we have to be clear on everything that we are saying and dictating. There is something I said, there is also cannot be a run-on task. So let's, somebody can tell me What's wrong with these seller items? What do you see? Okay, anybody can tell me. Quick, quick, quick. I don't have much time, guys. By the way, tell me, are you interested to go over a little bit over the time? Because I have lots of stuff. Okay, so guys, what's wrong with this? Can anybody quickly tell me? EMD not refundable. Who said that? Diana, no? I can say EMD is not refundable. Seller can say that, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're going to a Friday form. Okay, I'm sorry. So we'll finish. Estimated closing date. Excellent, very good. Okay. Okay, what else, guys? Number 2, very good. What else? Okay, let me, because I don't have much time, let me show you guys, okay? Buyers to provide proof of fund. What does it mean? What does it mean, buyer to provide proof of fund? What kind of a mushy sentence is that? It doesn't work, okay? Buyer when? Until when? Tomorrow? Next year? When is that, okay? Okay, so another thing is, and you guys mentioned it, buyer to provide new estimated closing of escrow date. Me, the seller, is asking, please, Mr. Buyer, provide me new estimated of closing date. First of all, what do you mean estimated? You cannot do estimate. You have to write exact date. So what do we do? For example, here's my counter offer. Okay, this is how my counter offer, my seller's counter offer, should be. And I want you to pay attention to number 1, because many times I have this with you guys. Sellers, instead of buyer to provide proof of fund, seller acceptance of this agreement is supposed to be contingent upon buyers providing sufficient, again I have a spelling because it's the last minute, proof of fund to close escrow. What does it mean? What does it mean when I wrote that sentence? Basically, here's my counter. Even if the buyer accepted my counter, it's not good enough, because seller acceptance, because I put back, the seller needs to accept this, okay? If the buyer will provide sufficient proof of fund, then my seller's acceptance will be in place. Very, very important, guys, that you say that, okay? Now, number 2, this is, I put a clear thing on, okay? Close of escrow to be 45 days from acceptance. Boom! I closed it, I framed it, everybody knows what it is. So that's 2 examples of that. Now, the reason I put this is because I've seen this. Okay, I've seen this too many times, unfortunately, with some of our agents. Okay, I'll go quickly, guys. We are the sellers, okay, and we have a counter offer. And unless buyer demands it, never send the RPA signed with the seller counter. So you got the RPA, and I see many agents that do that, and some experienced agents don't have a problem with that. But when you're not that experienced and everybody's excited and there is a rush and everything, do not send the RPA signed with the seller counter. Just send the seller counter. If everybody is agreed, you can go back and do the seller counter. And the reason is because many of you will forget to check that box. What's going to happen if you forget to check that box? You send the RPA signed, as you can see here, okay, with the counter offer. What's going to be if you don't forget to check that box? Anybody can tell me? RPA agreed. Very good, Amakos. It means that the counter offer meaningless. Very good, Paul. Very good. So it means, guys, pay attention. If you didn't check that box and you send it back to the buyer, even though that you have a counter offer, technically, you have an agreed RPA. So you don't want to go because you were careless. You don't want to go back to your client and say, listen, I have a buying agent that's sticking it to me right now, and I have a problem. We have a problem. You do not want to get there. So my suggestion, guys, never send the RPA signed, because you might check, do that box. Unless the buyer will actually ask you. And then Remember that you have to check that. Always says Counteroffer. Very good, very good point. Um, you know what, guys? I can finish here. There is one thing I want you to pay attention. I'm gonna go here. Okay. When you're a listing agent, many times we have offers that let's say $420,000, but seller needs to contribute $5,000 or any amount towards buyer's closing costs. Now, there is no place, the RPA it didn't put a place in the contract where it's supposed to be. They can put it anywhere, but when you read this contract, especially when you have multiple offer situations, guys, go over detail after detail after detail, because that item can be either in the first page under special financing, okay, on the first page, or sometimes it's even over here in item 6 on the RPA, or God knows where we're going to hidden it. The moment it's on the contract, we are stuck to this. So you don't want to get to a closing and your seller doesn't know that he's putting 5,000. He has to contribute, and then we go to the closing and we see that we have to do that. Where do you want us to put it? Very good. I wanted you put it right there in the first page, and exactly as I put it under additional financing terms, right there. Okay? Because I don't want to go into argument later on into. I like smooth closings, even though when we have a problem. I like also because we wrote special perfect contract. We were strong. We were assertive. We are always going to be in the upper end when we get to the closing. But I like smooth closing. Remember, our job is to get into escrow, to get out on escrow, collect the check, and move on. Okay, guys, I have other things. I'm not going to address them then today. Because everybody needs to go and do their own business. We have a lot of prospecting to do today. So, questions, guys, questions. No questions. Okay. Adios, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And don't stop prospecting. All the best, guys.